Hey, what's up guys? Nathan Hamilton here. Welcome to my channel where I teach you how to shoot better iPhone video. And today what we're going to cover is a third-party app called FILMIC Pro. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what FILMIC Pro is, it turns your iPhone camera into the equivalent of a DSLR, and that gives you control over all sorts of camera settings, including shutter speed, frames per second, resolution, ISO, and different exposure settings, which you do not have within the native iPhone camera app. So it is extremely powerful, and I shoot all of my videos on FILMIC Pro. With that said, let's go ahead and jump in and cover some tips to use FILMIC Pro. Now, to get to camera settings, what you want to do is click on this gear icon in the bottom right corner, and that'll bring up the menu. And the first one we want to set up is going into resolution and choosing the aspect ratio. And you'll see at the top here there's 16:9, which is standard. And within the same resolution menu, you can also choose, of course, your resolution, which you can see I've got it set to 4K. You can go to 3K, 2K, 1080p, and even down to 540p. This is shot on an iPhone 7 Plus. Now, why resolution matters, of course, is you're just going to get more pixels the higher the resolution, and of course, you're going to have a lot larger file size the higher resolution you choose. The option below resolution, you'll notice we've got another slider arrow to the right. And when you click that, you can go to Apple Standard, which is what you get within the native iPhone camera app, or you can go to FILMIC Quality and FILMIC Extreme. I typically choose it's going to be FILMIC Quality or higher, sometimes even FILMIC Extreme. And that's just to get a cleaner final result. And once we've got the resolution settings set, just go back a step here and go to frame rate. And you're going to see a ton of options here, 24 all the way to 240 frames per second. Now, to shoot cinematic footage, what's very common is 24. As you change the resolution, you are going to get more options, and I'm choosing 4K. The camera only allows me to go up to 30 frames per second. But if I were to go down to 1080p or 720p, you do get the options for 120 and 240 frames per second, which are perfect for those B-roll shots when you want to slow down the footage and still have a buttery smooth shot. One of the features that FILMIC Pro gives you far beyond what you get with the iPhone app is control over audio type. The standard that you'll want to look at is AAC. You'll want to choose this because some of the other audio formats don't work well with different video editing platforms. So this is the standard to choose. This next tip is one of my favorites. If you shoot a bunch of footage and end up having to shoot them in separate files, what you can do is go into Device, scroll down a little bit, and choose Stitch Recorded Footage. Now, what that will do specifically, when you hit record and then stop again and then start again, it's going to stitch that together as one file. And this is super helpful for the people that have a hard time managing their files and keeping them organized. In the bottom left, you'll notice this IS and a camera symbol, and that's for digital image stabilization. And if you click it, it'll go ahead and automatically turn it on. Now, where image stabilization is helpful, it's important to pay attention here. If you have some mildly juddery shots, or if you're walking slowly, the digital image stabilization within FILMIC Pro is very useful. But here's the caveat. If there is more shaky footage, if you're running along or anything that's shaking the camera quite a bit, it fights with the optical image stabilization, which is already within the iPhone 7 Plus camera. So it does actually create a worse off result in those scenarios. So you'll want to be careful when you choose to use FILMIC Pro image stabilization and when to turn it off. Once you've chosen your settings, what you'll want to do is go to the upper right menu, which reads Presets. And when you click that open, you can see I've got some preset names here that I use. Create your own presets. So if you have, say, a cinematic 1080p, cinematic 4K, or even going to 1080p 120 FPS, that's what I use for various B-roll. And altogether, just it makes it more efficient to use FILMIC Pro when you take advantage of presets. Okay, now we've got all the settings and we're hopping into the actual camera app here where you can see some various features and different buttons on the screen. I'm going to go through how to use each one and some tips to make it useful. The first to look at is how to set exposure. And you'll notice this circular item here. When you drag it around the screen, it's going to change the exposure. So we can go to Yoda, it gets a little bit darker, we can go on the wall. And what you'll want to do when you find the right exposure, just hold down on the screen and it'll turn red. And that's going to keep that same exposure consistent. It's an exposure lock. The focus works in a very similar manner. You'll see this square here, and when you go from Yoda and swipe to the back, the cactus is now going to come in focus. And the same exact sort of thing is when you hold, you're going to have autofocus lock. And that's helpful if there's movement within the scene and you want to keep consistent footage without the camera auto-focusing again and following different items as they come in and out of frame. Beyond setting the focus, what's really nice about FILMIC Pro is you get the feature which is called pull focus, and you'll see it implemented here. On the right hand side there's the wheel and you see the two different anchor points. And what I've done is set the focus to lock on the item in the foreground and then also the item in the background. And when you click on the bottom one here, you'll see the pull focus works on the right hand side, and when you swipe from the right, that becomes available. You can change the pull focus speed, and we'll go ahead and amp it up all the way to 10 here and notice the difference. And then slow it down. Go down to 1 to show the opposite effect. I love this feature because it's something that isn't available within the native iPhone camera app, and it's a really nice feature that you can use to change the dynamic of your videos using FILMIC Pro. Along the same lines as pull focus, you have the same sort of capabilities with zoom. So if we go from focus to clicking on zoom here and bring up the rotating wheel again, we've got it set to slow for the zoom speed, and then we click on the top anchor and you can note it's going to slowly zoom in here. But if we go ahead and speed it up, we can look at the opposite effect taking place. And to change this, you can just say zoom out all the way, double tap, and it'll set the anchor point again. And to implement it, just click on the top item, click on the bottom item. And the final feature is looking on the right hand side, you'll notice you have the slider, which is to control zooming. And what I like about this is as you zoom in, you're going to see that there's green there, but as you zoom in further, it goes lighter green and then goes red. Now what this is signifying is telling you when the image is going to be too blurry. Well, it's a helpful guide when you're out in the field shooting some videos, just to understand when you are going to get a good video versus when you're not going to. So those are the FILMIC Pro essentials. Of course, we could spend all day talking about all the other features in here, which we haven't even touched upon, including ISO, setting shutter speed, and some of the other various features, but we'll leave that for future tutorials. I want to keep this one simple and basic just to show you how to use the FILMIC Pro app. So let me know in the comments which feature you like the most or where you'd like to learn more about FILMIC Pro. Be happy to put together a video in the future. And of course, if this is the first time you're coming by this channel and you found this video useful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Share this video with your friends. Would certainly appreciate it. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you in the next one.